I'm teaching a series of lessons which I'm calling Maximize the Moment. Maximize the Moment. Actually, we're looking at it in three different segments. First of all, we talked about minimizing the moment, then mastering the moment, and now we're talking about maximizing the moment. This is actually lesson number 2 in maximizing the moment, calling pushing the limits. Pushing the limits. How to maximize or get the most out of life. One of the things we must understand is if we're going to maximize the moment, we have to allow new people and things into our life if we're going to keep moving ahead, keep making progress, keep growing. You have to accept new ideas, new people. Jesus talked about a principle that he called the blind leading the blind. Now, when he's talking about the blind leading the blind, of course, he was especially referring to the religious leaders of his day and time. But what he's saying, it's like surrounding ourselves with people that duplicate us rather than complement us. In other words, many times the best teams are made up of diverse people, people that are not alike. And because they're not alike, they actually add more value to each other than if they were all the same. See, keeping company with people whose insights are no deeper than our own, it's a mistake. A mistake, my friend. You need to surround yourselves with people that can help you keep moving ahead, introducing new thoughts and ideas to you. Now, all of creation is like this. For instance, fish swim in schools. They swim together. Birds migrate in flocks. They fly together. Wolves hunt in packs. They are together as a group, and by that, they feel safer there. But the truth is, though they may be safer, it's still like living in a fishbowl. Living in a fishbowl. In the fishbowl, we're safe, we're insulated, but we're also cut off from the adventure of the real world. For instance, one of the things they have discovered about sharks, you can put a shark in an aquarium and he will grow to a certain size and he stops growing. But you put him in the ocean, he keeps growing larger and larger and larger. I think the same is true in our lives. And so we have to be introduced to new people and new ideas that keep us growing. Or another way of looking at it is like the escalator. If we're going to go to the next level in life, then we must surround ourselves with people who are there, even when we are not there. They will help us to grow, to learn, to push the limit, to keep reaching for the maximum out of life. See, the greatest indictment against not knowing is not learning. Some of the most difficult people to deal with in life are people that think they know everything. You can't help them. You can't tell them anything because they think they know it all. And those people are always difficult people to be around. So the greatest indictment against not knowing is not the ignorance. No, it's not learning, not opening ourselves up to new ideas and thoughts. It's a big mistake. We must never pretend to know what we don't know. That's a mistake because soon the people that are around us are going to observe. He just thinks he knows what he's talking about, but he really doesn't. Now, let me give you 4 points here about how we can avoid this blind leading the blind complex. The first thing I want to deal with is don't shrink back from people that have more expertise or more experience than ourselves. That's a mistake. God brings them into our life to teach us and to help us go to another level. Our insecurity can easily be misread as arrogance, pride, that we think we know it all, that we don't need to learn something. No, surround yourself with people that know something that you don't know. They can help you learn something that you don't understand. By doing that, it will help you go to the next level or to push the limit. Here's the second thing. If we're going to avoid this blind leading the blind concept, is don't try to impress other people as being their intellectual equals. The truth of it is, everybody knows something that you don't know. And you can learn from them if you are interested, if you're open to that. If you're trying to impress everyone, though, we usually end up impressing them the wrong way. What we should do is we should talk when we know what we're talking about, what we have experienced, but then we should listen very attentively to the things we don't know. Oh, there are certain people that I love to get around them and just ask 2 or 3 questions. Just get them started talking, and then I just shut up. And I sit and I take notes. I listen and I learn. That is the way that you keep advancing. You keep learning. If you will do that, then these people will help you push the limit and go to the next level. Here's the third thing. If we're going to avoid this blind leading the blind concept, don't come to class without your homework. When we come without our homework, and what I'm simply meaning, there's some things we have to do for ourselves that no one else can do for us. And so whatever the assignment is, read the assignment, study the assignment, apply yourself, do what you can do to make yourself available to the knowledge that you are going to learn. See, this is the learning process. Use what we know to help us understand what we don't know. The truth of it is that this is the way the learning process operates. Almost everything that we learn relates to something we already know. And so if we will connect them together, you build upon what you know by adding to that knowledge. Now, I wish I had understood this as a young man. If I had, I could have advanced more rapidly. I could have accomplished more. But I didn't understand. And I was probably about a freshman or a sophomore in high school before I really began to connect the dots and understand what worked best for me. And I can remember by my junior year in high school, I had developed a plan, a strategy. I would sit and take notes as the teacher was lecturing. I would read the assignment, then I would go put that up on a shelf, and I wouldn't look at that again until test time. What I would do, I'd go to the library, I would check out everything I could find on that subject, and I would read everything I could read. Then when it came down to test time, I would get out my notes, review the notes, and I'm ready for the test then. My grades went very high at that point because I had learned a system that worked for me. Now, this is what we're talking about. You add to your knowledge. You keep growing or keep pushing the limits. So don't come without your homework. Here's the fourth thing. The fourth thing, if we're going to avoid this blind leading the blind concept, do not become prematurely presumptuous. Now, here's what I mean by that. You don't pretend like you are good friends with someone that you have just met. No, smile at them, be gracious with them. But if you're going to err on the side of the formal rather than the familiar. Treat them with respect. Show them that you respect who they are and what they've accomplished. Listen to them. Listen to what they're saying. Use proper names and refer to them in the same way that they introduce themselves to you and to others. What are you doing? You're simply showing respect to them for what they know, and you're avoiding being presumptuous in pretending that you are a great friend of theirs when you really are only a casual acquaintance. Now, the second part of this lesson, I want to talk about what I'm going to call eagle's wings. Eagle's wings. By talking about eagle's wings, we're talking about how we're able to harness the powers that God has given to us. Like the eagle is able to capture the wind. He knows how to capture the air that's around him, the wind currents. And that's why he seldom seems to be moving anything. He's just floating in the sky because he understands the secret of the wind. Now, power without control it can be dangerous. It's energy that isn't harnessed. And I'm using a picture here of a bolt of lightning, and because that is an excellent illustration of energy that is not controlled. If we could control that electricity that's in that bolt of lightning, we could light up half of the nation, because if we could control it. But the problem is we can't control it. It's not harnessed. Therefore, the potential of danger is there, and we have to be very careful with that. See, its strength is impressive, but the results are not productive. I've seen a lot of people like that they show us a lot of IQ, but there is nothing worse than educated ignorance. They show us great strength and power, but they're using it to abuse people rather than to help people. Oh yes, they've got a sharp wit, but their tongue is sharp too, and they end up offending more people than they do helping. So we're talking about how we harness this, how we do like the eagle, capture the current, capture it and use it for something that's productive. Again, let me give you 4 points in learning how to harness the wind, to fly like an eagle, to soar like an eagle. Number 1, give thanks. Give thanks. Boy, that is so important. It's what they call the attitude of gratitude. See, we should learn to give thanks to anyone that serves us. Now, I'm surprised how many people have not mastered this technique, and they continue to go through life pretending like they did it. Let me tell you, friend, if you're ever going to accomplish anything of significance, you're not going to do it alone. You're going to need some help. Someone has well said concerning leadership that leadership basically boils down to 2 things. And number 1, you stand up and you point and say, that's where we're going, and you rally the troops and everyone marches toward the goal. But number 2, and never forget this, when you get there, turn around and say, thank you, thank you. Because any leader is no better than the people that follow him. God help us to learn how to give thanks, to give thanks. See, this attitude of gratitude, it's our gratitude that leaves a pleasant taste in their mouths. Boy, as a young leader, I made this mistake so many times because I was so focused on the goal. And the moment that we accomplish the goal, I'm off charging the next hill. I'm off, to kill the next giant, to fight the next battle. And I missed a very important step. And that was simply stop and say, thank you. By giving thanks, we're going to learn how to soar on eagle's wings. Always acknowledge their contribution, because you didn't get there alone. Now, here's the second thing. If we're going to soar on eagle's wings, avoid any opportunistic actions. In other words, where we're taking things for our own credit. The truth is, we should always learn to carry our own weight. Everyone should do that. Pay your own way if at all possible. Look for ways that you can be a benefit and not a liability. Look for ways that you can serve, that you can encourage them. That is always good. Be careful about trying to use the situation for your advantage. See, what I've seen so many times about the people that they call them the top dog. He's the big man. He's the one that he always wins. But one of the things I've discovered, top dogs are almost always lonely. They sit alone and they really can't enjoy what they've accomplished because they never learned how to give thanks. They took it for their own advantage. Now here's the third thing. The third thing is what I will call have a clear goal in mind. What you want to accomplish, where you want to go, what you want this to look like when it is finished. See, rambling or deceit, these kind of approaches, they assume others are less intelligent than ourselves. Oh, what a big mistake. And I think probably almost every person has experienced this in life. Have you ever been involved in a relationship, involved in a group, a project, and you walked away feeling like you had been used? They didn't care about you. They weren't interested in anything that was going to be productive in your life. They were simply using you for their goal. See, that when you figure that out and you realize they just used me, that is always a very degrading, humiliating experience. Nobody likes that. Nobody. And next time you will be on guard. Next time you won't be ready to follow them. God help us not to do that. I've seen people that use deceitful tactics, and they act like you don't know what they are doing, and you're able to connect the dots and figure it out. God help us never to do that. Now, the truth is, if we don't have clear goals in mind, we can't monitor success if we don't know the goal, if we don't know where we're going, what we're trying to accomplish. So have some clear goals that you want to accomplish, what you want to get done. Some people are very good at starting things, but they're not good at finishing things. And that's not a good way to live our life. We're never going to live the maximum. We're never going to push the limits unless we become good finishers. Learn how to finish what we have started. Now here's the fourth thing. The fourth thing, I will call it, get a clear understanding of the relationship. We're talking about more than one person that's involved in this project, more than one person that's involved in this goal, whatever it is we're trying to accomplish. If you're going to do great things, you can't do it alone. You've got to learn to work together as a team. One of the first things you've got to determine is, what do you both want from this relationship? The best relationships, they work on the premise of a win-win. It's not a win-lose, one winning and the other losing. No, it's beneficial for both parties, for both sides. Win-win, a win-win situation. That's what you have to determine. What is it that you want to accomplish in the win-win situation? If you will determine this, you have a clear goal and you determine what it is. And I've discovered that many of the problems that we face in life come from misunderstandings because we never set the perimeters. We never sat down and figured out what it is that we want to accomplish, what it is I'm going to contribute, you're going to contribute, and this is going to be the outcome. So by keeping the relationship within the perimeters keeps us focused on the goal. Now, all of life is this way. Life tends to become more complex, not more simple. It loses its focus, and by losing its focus, we lose the excellence, we lose the quality. Everything begins to become disorderly. it begins to fall apart. And suddenly we find ourselves, instead of being friends, we become enemies, and we're fighting each other. We're competing with each other. We didn't have a clear goal. We did not have clear understanding of what we wanted to accomplish. Now, I believe in every one of our lives that as we travel the journey we call life, we will reach our limitations. The way to go beyond our limitations or push the limits, the way to move beyond that is allow new people into our life. God sends new people, and many times we don't recognize them as the gift, who they really are. That we don't recognize and accept them, and because of this, we're never able to take the next step, to go to the next level, to push the limit. The limits should continue to increase within our life as we continue to develop good relationships with good people. A dear friend of mine told me many years ago, he said, and he was talking about pastoring. As a pastor, he said, you've got to go through a lot of people to find a few good ones. Now, that is really the truth. And that's not only true as a pastor, it's true as a foreman on a job, it's true as a teacher of students, it's true of all of life. You have to go through a lot of people because a lot of people don't want to go where you're going. A lot of people don't care, or they don't have the ability to go there. And so you have to find people that share your values. They share your goal. They want to accomplish what you want to accomplish, and then you make relationships with those people. You build a strong relationship there. God sends these kinds of people into our lives. Many times we don't recognize them. The truth is, they are God's messengers to us to take us to a new level of ministry. See, that's what great leadership is all about. Great leadership is not great people, the genius showing us how it's all done. Because even genius have things they don't understand, things that they are ignorant about. We need to surround ourselves with the best people that we can. Keep moving toward the goal. God will continue to send new people into our lives, and as He does send them into our life, they help us go to the next level. That's great leadership. Great leadership is taking average people and giving them the training to help them do above average work. Taking the ordinary and producing something extraordinary. That's good leadership. Now, one of the problems we have in life, as we go through life, it's one of the most difficult relationships to find, is someone that can appreciate where we have been and where we are now. That's very difficult, because what happens many times is people that knew us back then, but they haven't grown with us. They haven't been on the journey with us. They didn't grow with us. They knew us back when we were a boy, or they knew us when we were beginning this business, or whatever it was we were starting, this ministry. But they didn't grow with us. Then many times they feel betrayed, like we left them, we forsook them. No, we kept growing. Or they will want to draw us back to what we used to be, when that is not who we are anymore. Those kind of relationships are always harmful. They never will last to the end of our life. The truth is, there are only a few people that have the ability to grow with us. I heard one wise man say, one of the mistakes I made as a young leader was I thought everybody would take the journey with me, make the journey with me. And I discovered not everybody can, not everybody wants to, and not everybody should. Well, that is the truth. There are very few people that have the ability to grow with us. See, if they didn't know us before, then they've missed a major part of our life. Or another way we can say it is like this: no one can appreciate the enormity of our success if they have not seen the ferocity of our struggle. Boy, that is the truth. When you were beginning, when you were making a lot of mistakes, when you didn't know what you were doing, but you were doing your best to learn. Oh my, if they missed that part of your life, they missed a very important segment of your life. But if they were there, they saw it, but they grew along with you, then those people become some of the greatest treasures in your life. As someone has said, there is no friend like an old friend. Someone that knew you back then, but they can appreciate you for who you are today because they made the journey with you. They have grown with you. What we need to do in this is need to learn from other people's struggles so we can celebrate our own victories. Now, it is true that someone has said the smart person goes through a problem and learns something from it. Someone else said yes, but the wise person observes somebody else's struggle and then they don't have to go through it. Boy, that is wisdom. That is wisdom. So we learn from those that God sends into our lives so we can accomplish what he wants us to accomplish. We can push the limit. We can be everything God created us to be. So learn from each other. Celebrate them. Celebrate diversity. Allow God to bring new people into your life and learn to soar. In all the accomplishments that you make, never forget to stop and say thank you to those that have helped you get there. These are the ways that we help to push the limits in our life to be everything God created us to be.